The Honda Goldwing is one of the most respected touring motorcycles ever built. Choose the right year and you get a machine capable of crossing the country in quiet comfort, while the odometer climbs past 200,000 miles, sometimes even approaching 300,000, with the original engine still running strong. That reputation is exactly why used Goldwings attract so much attention. But many buyers miss one crucial detail. Not every model year earned that legendary status. Some became icons of durability, while others developed costly problems. And the difference between them usually comes down to one thing: the year it was built. The Goldwing's reputation did not appear overnight. It was built slowly, generation by generation, as Honda kept refining the motorcycle that would eventually become the benchmark for long-distance touring. That history is exactly why the model year matters far more than many buyers expect. Motorcycle manufacturers rarely leave a design untouched for long. Every few years, a touring flagship goes through a major overhaul. Engines grow more powerful, frames are redesigned, electronics become more advanced, and new technology is introduced to make the ride smoother and more comfortable. On paper, those upgrades sound like a major step forward. In the real world, the earliest years of a redesign can sometimes expose weaknesses that never showed up during development. A brand new engine layout might place unexpected stress on internal components. Fresh electrical systems can introduce complicated wiring and charging demands. Even small changes in cooling systems, suspension geometry, or drivetrain design can reveal flaws only after thousands of riders begin piling on real miles. The first owners are often the ones who discover those issues. Over time, manufacturers study what goes wrong. Engineers reinforce vulnerable parts, update software, improve manufacturing tolerances, and quietly correct the problems that appeared in the earlier versions. By the later years of that same generation, the motorcycle is usually far more refined than it was at the beginning. That process is the reason some Goldwing generations earned a reputation for extraordinary longevity, while others developed a quieter warning among mechanics and longtime riders. The difference is not luck, it is the natural evolution of engineering. Understanding when those turning points happened can mean the difference between buying a touring motorcycle that delivers decades of dependable travel and one that slowly becomes a frustrating repair project. And if you trace the timeline of the Goldwing far enough back, the first real test of that evolution appears at the very beginning of the story. If you are the kind of rider who believes a touring bike should be able to cross state lines, not just city blocks, hit the like button, drop a quick Goldwing in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. That support is what keeps us digging through real ownership data and rider experiences, so we can bring you honest breakdowns of machines like the Goldwing. When the Honda Goldwing first appeared in the mid-1970s, it looked nothing like the motorcycles most riders were used to seeing. Honda was not simply building another bike for weekend rides. They were chasing a far bigger idea, a machine designed specifically for crossing long stretches of highway in comfort. At the heart of that idea sat a large flat-4 engine built for smooth, effortless power. Compared with many motorcycles of the era, the ride felt remarkably refined. The bike pulled steadily at highway speed, vibrations were minimal, and riders quickly realized this motorcycle could cover serious miles without beating up the person in the saddle. For its time, that was revolutionary. But as often happens with first-generation machines, real-world riding began to reveal a few early growing pains. One area that demanded careful attention was the carburetor system. The flat-4 relied on multiple carburetors that had to stay perfectly synchronized. When they were dialed in correctly, the engine ran like a turbine, smooth and responsive. But once those carburetors drifted out of adjustment, riders could experience uneven throttle response, rough idle, and time-consuming maintenance sessions just to bring the engine back into balance. Electrical systems also reflected the limits of that ERA. Charging components and wiring were far simpler than what modern motorcycles use today. After years of riding, some owners began noticing aging connectors, weakened charging output, and small electrical gremlins that required attention. None of this meant the early Goldwing failed. Far from it. Many riders still admired these motorcycles for their strength and for the bold idea behind them. What those early years really represented was a starting point. Honda engineers watched closely as riders piled on miles, learning exactly where the platform needed improvement. Those lessons would soon lead to the next major step in the Goldwing's evolution, a new generation that promised to solve many of these early weaknesses. But as we will see next, that generation would introduce a few challenges of its own. Now, I would like to hear from riders who have actually lived with these early Goldwings. If you have owned or ridden one of the first generations we just talked about, what stood out to you the most? The durability or some of those early quirks? Share your experience in the comments. Riders researching these bikes often learn more from real owner stories than from any brochure or spec sheet. By the middle of the 1980s, the Honda Goldwing had already earned a serious following among long-distance riders. When the GL1200 generation arrived, expectations were higher than ever. Honda responded by making the bike bigger, stronger, and far more capable on the highway. The new engine delivered more power, the ride felt smoother at cruising speed, and the motorcycle carried additional touring equipment designed to make cross-country travel easier. For riders who spent days covering open highway, the GL1200 looked like Honda was taking the touring formula to the next level. On paper, it seemed like a major step forward, but once these motorcycles began stacking up real miles in the hands of everyday riders, a few reliability concerns started to show up. One issue appeared in the charging system. Some GL1200 models developed stator failures. The stator is the component responsible for producing electrical power while the engine runs, keeping the battery charged and the electrical system alive. When it fails, the motorcycle eventually loses its ability to keep the battery charged. The real frustration was not just the failure itself, it was the repair. On this generation, reaching the stator often required removing the engine from the motorcycle. What should have been a straightforward electrical fix suddenly became a major mechanical job involving significant labor costs. For riders who relied on their Goldwing for long-distance travel, that kind of repair could quickly turn a dream tour into a very expensive detour. The GL1200 also carried more electrical features than earlier versions, which meant diagnosing electrical problems became more complicated for mechanics. None of this erased the bike's strengths. The comfort and highway performance still impressed many owners, but these challenges revealed that even a respected touring machine could stumble during its evolution. And Honda knew the next chapter would need to go much further. And when Honda unveiled the completely redesigned Goldwing Gull 1800 for the 2001 model year, it was one of the most dramatic transformations the motorcycle had ever experienced. This was not a mailed update. Honda rebuilt the touring flagship from the ground up. The familiar flat-4 engine was replaced with a powerful flat-6. The chassis was redesigned with a lighter aluminum structure, and the motorcycle gained modern touring technology that pushed it far ahead of many competitors at the time. For riders who followed the Goldwing story, the excitement was enormous. The new platform promised stronger acceleration, improved balance, and more responsive handling than any Goldwing before it. Long-distance riders suddenly had a touring machine that felt more powerful, more refined, and surprisingly agile for its size. And interestingly, once Honda fully refined this new platform in later years, the same GL 1800 design would go on to produce some of the most respected long-distance touring motorcycles ever built. Something we will come back to when we look at the Goldwing models known for lasting hundreds of thousands of miles. It looked like the future of luxury touring had arrived. But as history often shows with completely new designs, the earliest production years revealed a few unexpected issues once riders began putting serious miles on these motorcycles. One concern that gained attention involved the frame on certain early models. A small number of riders began reporting cracks forming in parts of the aluminum frame, particularly around the steering head area where major structural loads are concentrated. While the number of affected motorcycles remained limited, the problem was serious enough to raise concern throughout the touring community. The frame is one of the most critical structural components on any motorcycle. Honda eventually issued a recall to inspect and repair the affected machines. For many riders, the situation was surprising. The Goldwing name had long been associated with long-distance durability, so hearing about structural concerns on a brand new generation caught people off guard. And the Goldwing generation we just looked at proved something important. Even legendary machines can stumble when technology moves faster than refinement. But the Goldwing story does not end with those frustrating chapters. In fact, the reason the Goldwing still carries its reputation today is because Honda eventually corrected those mistakes. And that turning point in the timeline is where the conversation finally changes, because the next chapter introduces the generation that started restoring the Goldwing's long-distance respect. And up to this point in the timeline, we have walked through the challenging years in the Goldwing story the early growing pains, the redesigns, and the models that revealed a few unexpected weaknesses along the way. But every rider sees this history a little differently. So we are curious about your perspective. When you look back at these generations, which Goldwing era do you think was the most challenging for owners? Share your thoughts down in the comments, and while you are there, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Something important started to shift inside Honda Motor Company after the early Goldwing growing pains. Riders had been vocal about what worked, what failed, and what needed to change. And unlike many manufacturers that ignore feedback, Honda's engineers clearly took those experiences seriously. The result arrived with the introduction of the Honda GL 1100 Goldwing. At first glance, it did not appear dramatically different from the earlier Goldwing motorcycles. The overall silhouette still carried the same touring spirit riders recognized. But beneath that familiar shape, Honda had quietly refined the machine in ways that made a real difference once the miles started adding up. The biggest upgrade was the engine. The new 1085 cubic centimeter flat 4 delivered noticeably stronger torque and smoother highway performance. Riders hauling saddlebags, camping gear, or a passenger immediately felt the benefit. Long interstate stretches that once required constant throttle adjustments now felt calm and effortless. Heat management also improved. Earlier models sometimes struggled during extended summer rides, especially in slow traffic. Honda addressed that concern with a larger radiator and a better balanced cooling system, allowing the engine to maintain stable temperatures during demanding touring conditions. But the real transformation came from the chassis. Honda reinforced the frame and refined the suspension geometry, giving the motorcycle a more planted, confident feel at speed. On sweeping American highways, the GL 1100 felt steady and composed in a way earlier versions never quite achieved. Owners began noticing something else as the miles piled up. Fewer unexpected breakdowns, smoother long-distance travel, a machine that simply kept going. For many riders, the GL 1100 marked the moment when the Goldwing stopped feeling like an ambitious idea and finally became a trustworthy cross-country companion. And that quiet transformation set the stage for the motorcycle that would change touring forever. Because the next evolution of the Goldwing did not just refine the formula, it elevated it. In fact, the next generation would go on to define what a true luxury touring motorcycle could be. By the late 1980s, the Goldwing had already earned the respect of serious touring riders. Long-distance travelers appreciated its comfort, its stability, and the way it handled mile after mile of open highway. But when the Honda GL 1500 Goldwing arrived, the motorcycle world realized something important. This was no longer just a capable touring bike. It was becoming a legend. At the center of that transformation was a completely new engine. Honda Motor Company equipped the GL 1500 with a massive 1,520 cubic centimeter flat 6 power plant. And the first thing riders noticed was not raw power, it was smoothness. The engine delivered torque in an almost glass-like way. Roll on the throttle and the motorcycle simply surged forward without harsh vibration or mechanical drama. On wide American highways, many riders said the bike felt like it was floating across the pavement. For long-distance touring, that refinement changed everything. Carrying a passenger, loaded saddlebags, and days' worth of gear no longer felt demanding. The GL 1500 made cross-country travel feel relaxed, almost effortless. Comfort reached another level as well. The large fairing, wide seating position, generous wind protection, and purpose-built touring features transformed the experience. Riders could spend sunrise to sunset in the saddle and still feel surprisingly fresh at the end of the day. But what truly cemented the GL 1500's reputation was durability. Owners began reporting astonishing mileage stories. Many machines quietly crossed well beyond 100,000 miles, and quite a few pushed past 200,000 with proper care. That kind of longevity built enormous trust. Yet even as riders celebrated the GL 1500, something bigger was already taking shape behind the scenes. Because while the GL 1500 proved how durable the Goldwing could be, engineers were already preparing a redesign that would push performance, technology, and engineering even further. And that next step would introduce one of the most advanced Goldwings ever built. When the Honda GL 1800 Goldwing first appeared in the early 2000s, it marked one of the biggest redesigns in the history of the Goldwing. The motorcycle was lighter, noticeably stronger, and filled with modern engineering. Like many first-year redesigns, however, the earliest versions experienced a few growing pains once. Riders began putting serious miles on them. But this is where the story shifts. Over time, Honda Motor Company steadily refined the GL 1800 platform. Engineers listened carefully to rider feedback and gradually improved key areas. Suspension tuning became more balanced, electronic systems grew more dependable, and small production flaws that often appear in early redesigns were quietly corrected. By the later years of the GL 1800 generation, the motorcycle had matured into an exceptionally capable touring machine. The 1832 cubic centimeter flat 6 remained one of the smoothest engines ever fitted to a touring motorcycle, delivering effortless highway power with remarkable refinement. Riders once again began reporting impressive mileage stories, and just as the Goldwing fully regained its reputation for long-term durability, Honda prepared to push the platform into an entirely new era. Quick pause before we wrap this up. If this breakdown helped you understand the Goldwing timeline a little better, hitting the like button really helps the video reach other riders who are trying to make the same decision. And if you enjoy these deep dives into motorcycle reliability, subscribing keeps you connected to the next ones we publish. Now let us go to another major redesign that would bring the Goldwing into a completely modern era. The next chapter in the Goldwing story arrived when Honda Motor Company revealed a completely reimagined version of its flagship touring motorcycle. With the introduction of the Honda GL 1800 Goldwing, Honda did far more than update the styling. The engineers fundamentally reconsidered what a modern luxury touring motorcycle should feel like on the road. One of the first things riders noticed was the weight reduction. Honda redesigned the frame, suspension layout, and overall chassis architecture to remove a significant amount of mass. The result was a motorcycle that still delivered the long-distance comfort Goldwing riders expected, but now felt far more responsive at low speeds and noticeably easier to maneuver in parking lots or tight spaces. Technology also took a massive leap forward. The modern platform introduced ride-by-wire throttle control, multiple selectable riding modes, traction management, electronically adjustable suspension, and a fully digital instrument display. Riders also gained smartphone integration, onboard navigation, and a modern infotainment system that transformed the Goldwing into something closer to a high-end touring machine than a traditional motorcycle. Another innovation that attracted enormous attention was the available dual-clutch transmission. This system allowed fully automatic shifting while still delivering strong acceleration and smooth highway performance. For many riders, especially those covering serious mileage, it made long-distance touring feel even more relaxed. Like most complete redesigns, the earliest examples required a few adjustments as real-world feedback reached Honda's engineers. Over the following years, updates refined software behavior, improved system integration, and strengthened reliability. As those improvements accumulated, the modern Goldwing steadily earned the confidence of riders once again. And when you step back and look across the entire timeline, a powerful pattern begins to emerge. The Honda Goldwing did not become a legend by accident. It earned that reputation through decades of engineering, rider feedback, and a few lessons learned along the way. Some model years became the machine's riders' trust across continents. Others remind us why choosing the right year matters. If this video helped you see the difference, there is another breakdown waiting for you right here. Tap the next video and continue the ride. And if you enjoy exploring the real stories behind motorcycles that stand the test of time, consider subscribing and becoming part of the community. Thanks for riding along with us today.